Hello, everybody. Welcome to the daily highlights of Falling Walls in Berlin Science Summit. My name is Astrid Frohloff. I'm a German TV moderator and journalist and have the pleasure to guide you through this session. In the next 15 minutes, you will get a short overview about what's coming up in our diverse program. You get some recommendations, you meet some outstanding speakers, and you get a good idea of how to create your personal schedule. Our first take is an interview with an expert from the life sciences. Now I would like to introduce to you somebody who is a rising star in the scene of science. His name is Phil De Luna, and he's one of the top researchers in the growing field of clean energy, featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list for energy and a Carbon X Prize finalist. He will talk with us today about his work for the National Research Council of Canada on hydrogen. Hello, Mr. De Luna, nice meeting you. What is about hydrogen that you find so fascinating?
Well, hydrogen is a clean fuel, and it could potentially be the fuel of the future. When you combust hydrogen and use it, the only emission you get from it is water. So you could imagine in a future society being able to replace the majority of our fossil fuel use with hydrogen. And this is particularly important for areas which are hard to decarbonize with electricity alone. Hard to abate sectors like transportation or manufacturing, the sectors that contribute so much to our quality of life. If we can find a way to move past fuels that emit CO2, then we can find a way to potentially go to net zero even faster.
Well, if you look 10 years ahead, what would you think our energy system and our transportation infrastructure will look like?
Right, that's a great question. And I want to begin by saying that hydrogen is just one piece of the puzzle. When we think about the energy transition, there are many different technologies that need to be at play. Battery technologies, renewables like solar and wind and hydroelectricity, nuclear technologies, whether that's small modular reactors or next generation of plants. We really need to think of a whole approach, a holistic approach that makes the most sense in different jurisdictions. In Canada, for example, where we're blessed to have a relatively clean electricity grid, it makes a lot of sense to try to make hydrogen in jurisdictions like Quebec or British Columbia, where we have an abundance of hydroelectricity. Hydrogen is really only clean if it's produced from electricity that in and of itself does not emit CO2. And there are different ways to make hydrogen. And this is kind of the biggest bottleneck right now, which is how do you produce hydrogen and do it in a way that does not emit greenhouse gas emissions? So in 10 years or in the future, I hope to see really a big push towards a change and transition in our energy systems, where we have renewable energy capacity like solar and wind and hydroelectricity abound. And then we have renewable to hydrogen technologies where we can then capture that renewable electricity and store it into a hydrogen fuel using these new technologies. And then at that point, we can have distributed hydrogen, distributed energy. Why is this important? It means that we can reduce all of the emissions that you would normally see from large-scale transportation, like air flight or freight or trains or trucks. And this could be potentially extremely exciting for helping us get to our net zero goals.
Well, that sounds like a great vision, but I guess there are some obstacles as well to reach this goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Make no mistake, this is going to require a massive amount of investment in infrastructure. And on top of that, there are a massive investment in research and development and science, quite frankly. The International Energy Agency released this year its Energy Technology Perspectives report for 2020. They analyzed over 800 technology pathways, and they found for us to reach net zero by 2050, almost half of the technologies needed to reach this goal are not yet commercial, which means they are either in the lab or at a prototype or even at a pilot demonstration. So there needs to be a massive amount of investment, not only in actually scaling up the infrastructure for transportation of this clean hydrogen, for the production of this clean hydrogen and the utilization, but also on the underlying technologies to help us get there. It's going to take a lot of work. And one of the biggest issues right now is getting the cost down to move, produce, and use hydrogen. At the heart of this is new technologies and catalysts that can convert energy into hydrogen, or membranes or systems. So there's a lot of work still to be done, but it's a very exciting time in the field.
Yeah, I guess so. And we're looking forward to learn more from you in one of the sessions at the World Science Summit. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Luna.
Thank you so much.
So what else can we expect in the next 24 hours in our program? Let me give you a short overview. We've got a great event on climate policies, for example. In this lecture, you learn how climate policies are implemented in different countries and regions. Means you get an international perspective on how governments, NGOs, and the private sector are underway to broaden the Paris Agreement on climate change. The Quantum Future Award, what is it about? The Federal Ministry of Education and Research honors outstanding master and PhD theses dealing with applied quantum technologies. Watch the 10 pitches and be there to meet the award winner in 2020. How can we make our societies more resilient in times of a pandemic? Of course, one of the key questions in these times. In this panel discussion, you will get scientific responses by experts. They will talk about ways how to build resilience and support health and sustainability in the wake of COVID-19. So one of our overarching themes in the summit is artificial intelligence, and another event is dealing with this issue. How AI research makes us rethink our intelligence. In this session, you will discuss how concrete findings of AI research make us rethink such questions. You may participate in this discussion as well. So another one is Astronomy aktuell mit Datenvisualisierung. So this one is in German. The director of the Planetarium Berlin, Tim Florian Horn, will guide you through the night and report on space's probes, shooting star streams, comets, and current discoveries in astronomy and space travel. And the last one on this table is Science Film Rules with Ski Film It. This is a hands-on workshop to discover the rules to science filmmaking that will turn the science film into a masterpiece. If you would like to attend, please book the spot in advance. Find more information on our homepage, and you will see there is a calendar function as well. You can use it to mark the events you would like to visit. So I've got another question for you. Can plants be political? Artist Zheng Bu is convinced they do. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock Berlin time, Zheng Bu, Artist in Residence 2020 at the Gropius Bau in Berlin, will be joined by biologists and ecologists to discuss how plants in practice do politics. So learn more about this. Here is a video.
My name is Zheng Bu. I normally live in Hong Kong, but this year I'm here in Berlin because I'm the artist in residence at the Gropius Bau. I'm not a scientist, I'm an artist. My primary concern these years is the climate crisis, and also I would call the extinction crisis. I think in order to address these really planetary crises, as artists, I have to work with scientists, but I also work with people in humanities, in social science, etc. Because I think it's, in order to address these large issues, it's really something we have to come together from all the disciplines. In the event, it will be conversations between me as an artist with plant scientists. I think the conversation is very important because we have very different approaches. I'm interested in how scientists study plants, what they have learned about plants. I'm learning from their research. I'm in conversation with them to kind of think about how we can see plants differently, how we can understand their existence not only as biological but also as political, because we tend to see our life as not only a biological existence.
So one thing you should definitely not miss are our Falling Walls circle tables, where leading scientists and policy makers from different fields discuss about how to set the post-corona agenda, and they will give a broader picture on current challenges. So our next circle table is discussing about future computing. Can we remain on a stable democratic course in the long run if autonomy in IT continues to dwindle? What does this mean for Europe? Who will be the major actors in the future? So tremendously important questions will be discussed in this panel. So one element in our highlight are our daily stories by photographer Herlinde Kölbel. She visited great scientists all around the world and she brought back amazing pictures and amazing stories. At Falling Walls, she talks about her encounters.
Today we're looking at a portrait of Antje Boetius. She's a German marine biologist and director of the Alfred Wegener Institute that was at the helm of an unprecedented expedition into the Arctic, researching climate change there. So, Herlinde, what's the story behind this portrait?
Antje Boetius were very much influenced by the adventure story of her grandfather. He was a sailor and had many stories and dangerous stories to tell. But also she was influenced by her mother and grandmother, two strong women, and they told her that for girls, everything is possible. And as a child, she also wanted to be an astronaut of the Earth's interior, and she fulfilled her dream and was 30 years on ships and made 49 expeditions. She also recognized that you have to create new big ideas, not to work on little things. And her philosophy is also, give the coincidence a chance in your life.